What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Slate here on a Friday to take you home for the work week. Anyway, if you're working over the weekend, I hope that includes at least getting to watch a little bit of college basketball. We'll get into some of the March Madness as we are monitoring the games here on the Slate over the course of the next better part of an hour anyway. But we got a lot to hit on NFL and a little bit later on NBA with a robust 12-gamer on the docket tonight. I am Adam Kaufman. With me, as always, on Fridays, Matt LaMarca. How are you, bud?
Oh, I'm feeling great, baby. It's officially spring weather outside.
Mm-hmm.
You know, baseball is back. I'm already getting excited about the prospects of watching Jacob deGrom on the mound.
Never mind Max Scherzer,
right
too. You got him.
You know, the vibes are high. We got the shades. We got the hair out today, letting it flow.
Doing the bull dance.
Let's have a good show.
Yeah, let's do our best here. It is, at least where we are, I mean, it's 70 plus degrees out. It's gorgeous. So yeah, first day of spring, it's on the horizon, and you got the sounds of summer with players in spring camps and exhibition season underway in Major League Baseball before opening day in a couple of weeks. It's a good time to be alive. And you know what? After what has been a turbulent year and a half for Deshaun Watson, for many reasons that we won't spend time going into here on this show, he's having a pretty good day, safe to say, LaMarca, and a confusing day, I think, for many around the NFL, because we the collective were told the Cleveland Browns were out of the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. He was either going to Atlanta, which was going to force Matt Ryan somewhere else, or he was going to go to New Orleans, which was going to lead to, I don't know, either a backup role or a signing elsewhere for Jameis Winston. Well, Matt Ryan's staying put. Jameis Winston is going to New Orleans, re-signing there, obviously, as a free agent. Deshaun Watson is giving Baker Mayfield his dream come true. He's out in Cleveland. He's going to go somewhere. Watson, $230 guaranteed million. $230 guaranteed million over his 5-year deal. That is $80 million more than Aaron Rodgers just got on his guaranteed deal. So we are talking history in just the most unbelievable sense for a guy who still very young, very much in his prime, and very, very good. We know that from his years in Houston, but has not played in more than a year, and obviously has what is still not a finalized off-field situation that he is dealing with.
Yeah, and to start, right, I think Cleveland was out. I don't think Deshaun wanted to go to Cleveland, but when you put $230 million guaranteed dollars in front of somebody, that'll do a lot of convincing on your behalf. You know, you talked about just how historically like an outlier that contract is. That's probably what Cleveland had to do to get this player, because again, we're talking a guy, you know, Aaron Rodgers is what, 35, 36 years old at this point. Deshaun Watson won't turn 27 until September. He is still very much in the prime of his career. And the last time we saw him, albeit for a very bad Texans squad, he dominated. He was arguably the best quarterback in the league that season. He led the league in yards, 33 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. Just a fantastic season. So, you know, I think all things considered, the way I look at this is how do the fans of an organization feel, right? Mm-hmm. And I think for the most part, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you're probably pretty okay with this. You know, take the off-field concerns away. It's a ton of money, but you know what? Does having Deshaun Watson give you a better chance of winning a title, which is ultimately the goal for every team? I think the answer to that question is unequivocally yes.
In terms of the deal, for anyone that missed it, it was a haul. No surprise there, obviously. So Browns and Texans, this is according to Ian Rappaport a little while ago. It's 3 first-round picks, a 3rd rounder, a late round pick swap, a 4th for a 5th. That is the deal. Deshaun Watson and the 5th going the other way for that massive haul of picks that Houston gets to, you know, work toward obviously rebuilding its system. And honestly, I mean, and of course you sprinkle in again those $230 guaranteed $1 million as part of the deal as well that Cleveland ended up paying him. And if you're, let's go each side of this thing. There's going to be a lot with Cleveland. So let's just start with Houston. Let's just get the Texans out of the way. You got to be pretty happy with a trade package like this that nets you, again, 3 first rounders and a 3rd rounder, and then, of course, the late round pick. But 3 first rounders in particular when you already knew he wasn't coming back. Like he wanted out. So it was just a function of where are we going to send him? Assuming, I mean, they were probably, wondering there in Houston. I imagine there were concerns of, are we just going to have to end up cutting this guy? Like, is this guy even going to play football again? Obviously not knowing his future, never mind getting out from underneath a large contract, one that, justified for football reasons, obviously, but getting out from under that contract and then, sort of figuring out where do we go from here? Well, now they're going to have a lot of options here coming up in the draft. Now, I don't know if they're going to go with another quarterback. I don't know if they're happy with Davis Mills. I don't know if they're just kind of looking at this being a stopgap for a year or two and continue to build up positions around the quarterback and go from there. Fact of the matter is Houston is not going anywhere in 2022. So what you think of this deal from the Texans side and Nick Caserio first?
Yeah, I think that the Texans did a good job. There were plenty of times where most people, myself included, were like, just get rid of this guy. You got to get him off the books, right? The Dolphins want him. He's not going to play for you again. Take what you can. And very similarly to the Ben Simmons situation in Philly, Ben Casemiro, he kind of just sat back, he was patient, and he ultimately got what his demand was, which was 3 first-round picks plus 2 additional picks. So yeah, you have to like the haul. I think as for what do they do at quarterback, I think that they roll into this year with Davis Mills as the starter, and you see what he's got. If he is, a bust, then great. You'll be in position to draft the quarterback next year. The quarterback class in this upcoming draft is not particularly exciting anyway. So I think that it's a great year to sort of just punt on the position. As you mentioned, you're not expecting to contend. So see what he can give you. Use some of these extra picks to beef up the rest of your roster, because certainly they're only, they have holes at positions other than quarterback. So they can use their extra picks to beef up the defense or whatever other positions they're looking at. And, just take it sort of year by year.
Yeah, look, I mean, the only thing that the Texans are going to contend for, and I'm not cracking a joke here. This is just a fact. The only thing they're contending for is the number 1 pick in the draft the following year. That's obviously the race that the Texans are going to be in this coming year, along with, your Jets probably are going to be in the mix for that.
How dare you?
Yeah, it's true. I know. I'm sorry. You could.
I think
the
that
Lions,
the Jets,
maybe the Jaguars again, but
the Jets are going to take
right
a big step next year, Kaufman. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, or they might not even be 500, but they will not be in contention for the worst record in the league, and you can take that to the bank.
Okay, well, I look forward to having plenty of time to dissect that in the future. But Cleveland very much going the other way. Looking at the DraftKings Sportsbook odds right here, and good on you if you got just a little sprinkle, got a little tiny wager in there in the last few days when Cleveland was still on the table before the odds really moved, because right now we're looking at the Cleveland Browns just outside the top 5 as far as Super Bowl favorites, behind the Bills, which is still kind of, wild to me. The Bills are number 1, but obviously they're in the conversation regardless of what you think of them. The Chiefs, who just got Juju Smith-Schuster as well today on a 1-year deal worth $10.5 million. The Buccaneers, who have probably the easiest path, if not to the Super Bowl, certainly to a division crown of anybody in the NFL right now. I mean, that division is a joke now that Watson is not wound up there with one of those NFC South teams. The Packers, which is, I don't know about them as a top 4, even with Aaron Rodgers back, with Davante Adams now gone with the Raiders, and we can get into some of that. We talked about that with actually we didn't. It happened just after our show yesterday. And then the LA Rams, obviously the defending Super Bowl champs, and then you have the Cleveland Browns. Do you like Cleveland that much? I mean, I know that it's a really good defense. You have some weapons on offense, but does Deshaun do that much for you to where you're looking at them and saying you're in the upper echelon of Super Bowl contenders?
Yeah, I think that that's a pretty fair number. I don't look at any of the teams below them and say, oh, I think they've got a better chance of winning a Super Bowl this year, right? The Browns last season had a very good team outside of quarterback. Baker Mayfield, I don't want to say sabotaged that team, but his poor play was the reason they were not better. So now you replace him with a guy who is potentially one of the 5 best players at the quarterback position in the league. And make no mistake about it, Deshaun Watson has the potential to be that good. I don't see how you can't give them a massive, massive upgrade in the futures market. You know, I think they were available at 33-1 or so before this news, and they're now at 14-1. That seems right.
We're looking at the division odds right now, and let's see, going down to the AFC North. So Cleveland plus 150, favorites to win that division now, ahead of Cincinnati, who, of course, as we know, just in the Super Bowl, the Bengals plus 225, Ravens plus 225, Steelers at plus 1,000, and understandably they're at the back of the pile, especially not that he was that good at the end, but especially with Ben Roethlisberger gone. I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo or somebody like that winds up in Pittsburgh, but as things stand right now, Mason Rudolph. So are the Browns, or would you lock to the extent that you would bet on it? Obviously, would you lock the Browns in as that division winner, or do you still feel like the Bengals, off of what you saw last year, are very much in that conversation?
I think I'd be more interested in the Ravens if I was going to be fading Cleveland again. I just have immense faith in that organization to put a competitive football team on the field each year. It didn't go as planned last season. They were just 8-9, but now they get a 4th place schedule. And to be fair, Cleveland gets the 3rd place schedule, right? Cincinnati is going to have to play the 1st place schedule, meaning that they will have the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Titans on their schedule at a minimum, while Cleveland and Baltimore are going to get significantly easier opponents from those conferences. So I think that those are the two sides that make the most sense to me. I would give Cleveland a slight edge just because they were 8-9 last year, getting nothing from the quarterback position. So I think that they are now certainly in the position to win the division, but if it's not going to be them, I like Baltimore as the pivot.
So looking at this depth chart right now for the Cleveland Browns, as we know, Amari Cooper went there from Dallas here this offseason. You have, of course, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Jakeem Grant is there now, David Njoku, obviously. So, I mean, those are your key skill players anyway. What kind of year with Deshaun Watson there now? What kind of year are we going to get from Amari Cooper? Of course, we saw what he was capable of there working with Dak Prescott in Dallas. Got a little crowded there among the wide receivers. Now, I mean, he's the clear number one for this team.
Yeah, he has a good season. I mean, he's I don't know if he's the same player he was when he was in his prime, which is weird to say about someone who's only turning 28 years old soon, but he's had a lot of injuries. He hasn't missed a ton of time, but different nicks and bruises and stuff throughout his career. He didn't seem like the same explosive player last season, at least to me. But again, playing with Deshaun Watson is going to make up for a lot of that. The thing to me is Cleveland it doesn't need to have this explosive passing attack, right? You have Nick Chubb, who in my opinion is the most underrated player, at least at running back in the league. He's averaged at least 5.0 yards per carry for every season he's been in the league, including 5.5 last year. You spell him with Kareem Hunt, like it's an abundance of weapons out of the backfield. So if Amari Cooper has lost a step, I don't think that it matters all that much. Cleveland should be able to overcome any deficiencies he has.
What happens now with Baker Mayfield? First, he requests the trade when it looked like, he was, whether Deshaun was going to go there or not, he decided he was just offended. He didn't want to be there anymore. We were all mocking it on Twitter because Cleveland immediately comes out and says, no. You're like, good one. We'll see. We'll see you in the fall, pal. And then obviously, literally the next day, hey, Deshaun Watson's coming. We're going to grant you your wish. And it appears, based on the reporting that's out there, he wants to go to the Colts. Is that to you the clear-cut destination? Is this where this ends for him?
It's certainly a candidate. For starters, though, Baker Mayfield has not earned the right to select his team. He should go wherever he is wanted. Okay. And believe me, that list is not going to be that long off of his play last year. So, Indianapolis makes sense. Seattle makes sense. Maybe Detroit right? Who knows if they're fully married to Jared Goff, but yeah, he'll have interest. He'll have suitors. I'm not sure how much he's going to fetch because, again, everyone knows he's on the way out the door. So I don't see anyone really overpaying to bring him into their team. But yeah, the Colts make sense. The Colts are going to do something, right? If it's not Baker, it'll be Jimmy Garoppolo or, Matt Ryan now, it seems like will likely be on the move at some point. So yeah, certainly the Colts have a move to make at quarterback. Does Baker give them a better chance of winning than Garoppolo or Matt Ryan? I don't think so, but we'll see. He at least has some pedigree. He's shown some promise in the past. I still think if I was Indy, I would probably lean towards Garoppolo.
What do you make of the AFC right now? And I know there's still, look, it's mid-March, free agency just got underway, that there are certainly trades and other dominoes to fall. But as we look at it right now, after already a lot has happened, Davante Adams has come over to the AFC. Like I said, we can talk about that. He's with the Raiders now. Russell Wilson, obviously, most notably, is in Denver coming over from the NFC. There are a lot of, bigger names, key guys that have moved to this conference. Clearly it's loaded. There's no question about that. But if you're sort of ranking your top 5, what does it look like right now?
Yeah. Bills and Chiefs are the clear top 2, right? I don't know how I would rank them. One of them is 1A, the other one is 1B. I guess I'll take the Chiefs, given that I can get them at a better price. I would take them as my preferred option, just given the odds at the moment. But those 2 teams, I think, are still the clear class of the division. Then after that, I think some of the greatness of this conference has been a little bit overstated. Like, yes, they've made some moves. They have some names now, but right, when you're looking at Super Bowl odds, the majority of the top teams are still playing in the NFC. So to me, the NFC has gotten to be just very top heavy, while the AFC is a little bit more balanced. I would say that the Browns probably check in third for me. I'll take the Ravens in my top 5, and I'll put Denver in my top 5. I'm not sold on the Chargers making a huge jump. I don't know what they've done, right? I mean, Justin Herbert, he can't get that much better. So they're going to need to win games in ways other than him. Titans, I just didn't see enough from Ryan Tannehill last year to back them. The Bengals, I think regression is going to bite them in the butt this year. We see that all the time. Team plays a 4th place schedule. Now they have to play a 1st place schedule. I think they come back to the pack a little bit. And then the Patriots, this is something else we've talked about in the past. All the money that they handed out in free agency 2 years ago, it was great for the team in the short term. They won a bunch of games, but that bill comes due eventually. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily, I'm not convinced yet that Mac Jones is like a future star, right? I think he survived last year with a very good defense. And a strong running game behind him. So for them to be serious contenders, I would need to see him make a significant leap in year 2.
It would probably help if they did something this free agency period.
Well, they can't. They're out of money.
Yeah, well, they're not out of money. They just have
out of money.
Last year, I mean, they don't have the kind of money they spent last year. Most teams don't, but they're not out of money. They have cap space. They're broke. What about in the NFC? I mean, you said it's top heavy, not as balanced, but how does it compare to to the AFC? Because ultimately it doesn't matter how many teams win, 10, 11, 12 games during the regular season. What matters is how many true Super Bowl contenders do you have? So in the NFC, how many are there?
I think the Bucs are pretty monster favorites. The Packers, I think that they're going to be fine without Davante Adams, but Davante Adams was a huge part of their offense, right? And Aaron Rodgers is good enough that he can make up for that, but certainly, it seems like they are not as good as they were last year. And by the way, they weren't good enough to make the Super Bowl last year, right? Because they've also lost Zadarius Smith. They've got some big names that they need to replace after giving Rodgers the bag. The Rams, I don't know. I know they won. They never were. I never found them all that impressive. I still think the Bucs have the higher ceiling. To me, like they're the clear team here. And I think that's why Tom Brady came back, because he's a coward and he saw a path to an easy championship ring. And he took it. And that's what he did.
Well, he certainly wasn't ready to retire. We learned that after his period of Lent that he walked away for football and then came on back. It's interesting. A little more on Davante Adams, just because it happened right after our show yesterday, so we didn't have time to talk about it there. The fact that he does move, like you said, I do think it's going to be a bigger hit to Aaron Rodgers in that Green Bay offense than you do. But I guess I'm a little skeptical of exactly how impactful he's going to be now in the AFC. I know there's a previous relationship there. He and Derek Carr were college roommates. Obviously, Josh McDaniels is, he's worked with top level talent, in his time in New England and elsewhere. He knows what to get out of his what to get out of his offense. But what are the expectations? The Raiders have been going out and spending like crazy, remodeling that team with new leadership, but is it going to be enough to really do anything? And I guess what I mean by that is, like, can they even win a division?
No. I'm selling the Raiders. Davante Adams is a good player. Don't get me wrong. I think the fact that we have anointed Davante Adams as like the unquestioned best receiver in football, I think that's a stretch, right? He is catching passes from one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I would be shocked if he can duplicate that success with the Raiders, like legitimately shocked. And Aaron Rodgers has a history of taking guys who are not considered, slam dunk, Pro Bowl caliber players and turning them into such. Before Davante Adams, he did it with Jordy Nelson, who was, not a first round pick. He did it with Donald Driver. He did it with Javon Walker. I think that the Davante Adams production is coming more from the guy throwing him the ball than it is from the guy catching it. So yeah, I think that contract ends up working out, pretty poorly for Las Vegas. I get it. There's the Fresno State connection. He wanted to go there, and it's a great move to sell tickets and such, but I just don't think it's a huge upgrade for their team.
What are you still watching for in the NFL? Like I said, it's mid-March. We've got a lot of time left before guys even start reporting for camps, let alone the season, obviously. What's sort of the next domino to fall in your mind, other than, I guess, Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, I mean, really the QB carousel, right? Where will the next stop be? We still have this whole Kyler Murray situation that, has kind of been put on the back burner for now, as all the other stories have moved to the front. But, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna go back to Arizona? If he does, then
has he put Arizona back in his social media posts yet, or is that still clear?
I don't track that. That's for the young folk to keep track of. Yeah. So to me, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. I think the Atlanta thing with Matt Ryan is certainly interesting too. I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest players in the history of that franchise, a guy who won an MVP, hadn't necessarily gotten them the team level of success that they wanted, but they were really good for a really long time with him at the helm. And it'll be interesting to see what they choose to do. Are they just going to boot him out the door? Because if they are, then I think that a lot of people are going to go back to that draft last year and say, well, why didn't you just take a quarterback when you had the number 4 pick instead of taking Kyle Pitts, who still may end up being a really good player, but certainly the greatest tight end in history is going to have less of an impact on the field than just an average quarterback at this point.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. We've got about 20 more minutes. If anybody by all means has any questions, thoughts, whatever it may be, shout it out. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you're watching. Our producer Eamon will grab that stuff, send it to us, and happy to report back to you. NFL, whatever it may be. Baseball, certainly. We can mix in some baseball futures in a little bit as well before we get out of here. Let's
tell me, I challenge the fans, name a better starting pitcher duo than Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. You can't do it.
You can't do it. Godspeed. Good luck trying. March Madness, we won't talk about this heavily, but just to let people know kind of what's already gone down today. Mostly chalk. You had Auburn win easily over Jacksonville State. That was a 215. Purdue cruised past Yale. Texas Tech crushed Montana State. Ohio State got by poor Sister Jean and Loyola Chicago. So that she's going to have to make it to 103 for another run next year. You did have an upset here just a few minutes ago. This went final. 10 seed Miami edged 7 seed USC 68-66. So that is final. And then you got a couple games that are at halftime right now, or early second half. Alabama and Notre Dame at halftime. Virginia Tech and Texas. Are you keeping an eye, a close eye on this stuff, or are you much more fixated on what happens in the association at this point?
I mean, listen, I work from home, right? It's very easy to just flip the television on and keep it on in the background. So yeah, I have a bracket. I've been paying attention. I've made my stance on college basketball known, which is that I think that professional basketball is just better. I don't think that's a hot take.
No,
you have better players, so it should be better. I enjoy the tournament, but college basketball, I don't want to watch kids miss shots all night. That's not how I want to spend my free time.
The officiating has been atrocious too. So for anyone that complains about NBA officiating, believe it or not, considerably better in the pros than what we've had here in college basketball, especially in this tournament. Let's talk NBA. And like I said, after just a little one gamer last night, a little showdown action on DraftKings in the lobby, you got a lot of options tonight. Plenty of showdowns and turbos and late slates and everything. But the main classic here, the main slate, 12 games, LaMarca, 12 games available to the people tonight. A lot of projected very close ones. There are some with larger spreads, whether it's Miami against OKC, the Nets against Portland. You could, I guess mix in the Celtics and Kings out there in Sacramento as well. But for the most part, these are
the juggernaut Celtics.
The juggernauts that won, 19 out of 23. It's been even better than that, as a matter of fact, going back to early January. But how are you before we'll go to DFS? We'll start with the DK Sportsbook, though. What are you looking at first?
I mean, you have to sort of start with this Pacers Rockets game. The total is up to, I want to say, 243.5 at this point. And we only have a 4-point spread. So it's a game that's expected to be high scoring and competitive. There's value to be had on both sides. There are, there's not a ton of high priced talent, with either of these teams. So it's a pretty obvious starting point. I think that's a game you want to have some attention on. And, then I'm sort of looking at Kevin Durant as my favorite stud target. There is a game with blowout potential, right? The Nets are 14.5 point favorites, but I just don't see how Kevin Durant doesn't just eviscerate this Portland team. He's pretty affordable for Kevin Durant at 10,500. No Kyrie with this game being played at home. He's routinely getting to 40 minutes a night. He averages over 1.5 DraftKings points per minute with Kyrie and James Harden off the floor this year. To me, he's the top spend up guy on a slate that has a lot of them to choose from.
There really are. I mean, I was looking at this, like you said, Durant is right there in the conversation, if not the best, as far as the guys that are priced at over 10K. But Nick Jokic, Luka Doncic, Joel Embiid. What's that?
I've never heard anybody call him Nick Jokic. Yeah,
I do it all the time. It's because we're friends. You have LeBron is.
Can I call him Cola?
Yeah, just, sure. Am I just supposed to? It's Greek Freak, Beard, Claw, Joker.
It works for a girl or a boy. Cola.
DeJounte Murray at 10-6. Trae Young at 10-1. I mean, pretty much like I'm just looking at it. The only guy who I'm not all that interested in, who is priced at over 10K tonight, would be John Morant, who I'm interested in most nights. I just think he's overpriced tonight. Everybody else, good matchup, good price. You could justify any of them. So at that in mind, even if you find there's a decent amount of value, even if you find enough value to decide, I want to have two of those guys in my lineup tonight. I know you like Kevin Durant. Where else are you going?
LeBron is a guy that's always in play for me now. Like he's playing he has to do everything for this team. And the problem is that it still hasn't mattered. They're still getting blown out quite frequently, but I still think LeBron, it's a very fair price tag for him at 10-7. Jokic at 11-5 is also, that's cheaper than what he normally is. He's somebody that's been up to like 12,200 of late. And again, the guy is just so good at basketball. I mean, look at what he did against the Wizards last time out. 29 points, 13 boards, 8 assists, 2 steals, and a block for 64.25 DraftKings points. And oh yeah, he did it in 26 minutes. That is absurd. That's absurd. So yeah, I don't think you can really go wrong. Embiid is the questionable guy right now. He's not a guarantee to play tonight. If he's out, then we can add James Harden to the mix. He's 9-6. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can go.
What do you expect? And I could pull up some numbers here, but just in terms of your expectation, in terms of ownership, is there a guy that you want to pivot off of just because, not because you think he's going to be a bad play, but just everyone's going to be on him. You're in a large scale GPP. You're looking for some differentiation.
I think it's spread pretty evenly tonight. I mean, I think that if the Nets weren't such massive favorites, Durant would be the highest owned stud, right? And he probably still will be, but I think that 14.5 point spread is going to keep at least a good handful of people from taking a shot on him. So I don't think you need to get too crazy as far as, diversification tonight. I think that especially with the stud options, nobody really, I think, is going to be like a massive chalky play.
So I'm looking at it right now. Projected ownership numbers, again, as we sit an hour and 15 minutes from lock, obviously this can change. But as we sit right now, Kevin Durant, no surprise. And this is just among guys who are priced at above 10K. He's projected to be owned in about 19% of lineups. After that, you have Nikola Jokic at about 12%. He's next. Yeah, and then LeBron James at 11%, Luka Doncic 10%, and then everyone else is sub 10. Those being DeJounte Murray, Joel Embiid, Trae Young. Trae Young and Ja Morant are each below 1%. So if you're looking for some serious differentiation tonight, you just believe, screw it, those guys are going to go head to head and absolutely go off in that Memphis Atlanta game. Go to it, have a ball.
Yeah. And I do think that it's an interesting spot for Trae Young. Big total on this game. It's a big pace up spot for Atlanta. Atlanta is like a sneaky slow team. They do not play very fast, but Memphis is obviously in the upper tier as far as pace goes. So it's a great spot for Trae Young. You just have to make sure he's actually in the lineup, right? He's questionable at the moment. So I would imagine that if we find out that he's going to play, that his ownership will likely tick up a bit in that case. But
sure.
Yeah, he's been playing exceptionally well of late, and this is a good matchup for him.
It would appear, again, from a fantasy perspective, that the chalk is going to go by way of the Utah Jazz. 3 of the top 4 guys in terms of projected ownership come from Utah with Donovan Mitchell out. You have Jordan Clarkson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Mike Conley, all these guys projected to be owned between 20 and 30%. So do you like that? I mean, are these guys that, it's keeping up with the Joneses, you want to roster just because you feel like everyone else is going to have them and they're just in great spots?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about cash games, then yeah, I think you want to have probably not all 3, but 2 of them. I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker in particular at 3,100, he's so cheap. And we know that he is a capable per minute producer. He is not shy about getting his shot up when he's on the court. So, he probably gets to 24-ish minutes tonight, because it's not just Donovan Mitchell that's out. You've also got Bojan Bogdanovic out of the lineup. So there's plenty of minutes and shot attempts available. So I think he is a great value at 3,100. And then I probably lean Clarkson over Mike Conley just because Clarkson has proven to be the higher usage guy, the better fantasy points per minute producer this season, especially with Mitchell off the court. But I don't think you can go wrong with either of those Jazz guys. They both seem underpriced.
You have any other favorites tonight beyond the top tier and the scrape in the bottom of the barrel minimum guys that we just, the two ends of the spectrum we just spent time on?
My favorite of the value plays is Goga Bitadze. Now he's questionable. He's missed the last 2 games, but the guy has been a monster recently. 1.4 DraftKings points per minute over the past month. If he returns to the lineup tonight, he will probably get something like 20 minutes against a soft Rockets interior. No Isaiah Jackson for the Pacers, which is, one guy sort of out of the rotation. I really like him if he can play. And if he can't play, then I feel very good about locking in Jalen Smith, who isn't, a pure value play. He's 5,700, but a guy that could see, big minutes now, who has also been really good this season.
Circling back to the DraftKings Sportsbook side of things, and I know you talked about obviously the blowout potential there in Brooklyn against Portland. Any of these games, we talk about it all the time on these Friday shows and in general, whenever we're talking NBA and chasing points from a fantasy perspective. But when it comes to, putting some bets on the line, I'm just looking at it in terms of the totals right here. You've got some in the mid 220s, obviously Atlanta and Memphis. 237, that's a big one. Houston, Indiana, 243, huge. Spurs, Pelicans, huge. 237 as well. 232 for the Suns and Bulls. Any of these that you actually think could go over?
I don't really bet totals. I'd rather look at sides. I think that they're more predictable for me. There are some people that are very good at totals. I'm not one of them. I really like Pacers -4 against the Rockets on the road. You might think, Pacers 4-point road favorites. They're not a good team. What have they done to deserve that? And that's fair, but the Pacers do have Malcolm Brogdon back. They have been nearly 4 points better per 100 possessions with Brogdon on the floor this season. So that's obviously a good thing for them. And the Rockets are in clear tank mode, right? Not even tank mode. They're playing their young guys, right? Jalen Green is getting a ton of minutes, and that's great for his development. But Jalen Green at this point in time is a terrible basketball player. That might be putting it harshly, but the numbers back it up. They're averaging 9.3 fewer points per 100 possessions with Green on the court this season, and they allow an additional 3.4 points per 100 possessions defensively. Green has gotten to 30 plus minutes in 32 games this season. What do you think the Rockets' record in those games are?
How many times?
32.
12 wins.
They are 4-28. 4-28. So, yeah, I think as long as Green continues to see that much playing time, we should be fading the Rockets basically every chance we get when we only have to lay 4 points.
Yeah, makes sense. Let's get to some baseball here in the couple of minutes that we have left. And I'm just pulling up some team futures on the DraftKings Sportsbook, and we'll show you some of these odds as well here. So, LaMarca, look, the Red Sox are 2-0 in spring training. They've scored 21 runs. They are clearly well on their way to the World Series.
They have the best non-roster invitees in the majors.
It's unbelievable. Plus 2,200 to win the World Series. Just the incredible disrespect that the Red Sox have been shown so far. But truly, obviously and there are rumors, by the way, on an actual serious note concerning the Red Sox, there are increasing rumors that Trevor Story could be landing in Boston. So something to monitor, obviously, if that winds up happening. But they are kind of known around here as the interest kings. So we'll see, how that unfolds. But the Dodgers, who just added Freddie Freeman, after all that success in Atlanta, plus 500 to win the World Series. They are the favorites on the DraftKings Sportsbook. The Yankees, is it reputation alone? I don't know why the Yankees are there at plus 900 with the best odds in the American League. I honestly, I don't get it. You have the Blue Jays, it makes sense. Your Mets with that great pitching tandem at the top, plus 1,000. I didn't mention the Astros at plus 950, even though currently Carlos Correa doesn't have a new home yet, unless I missed that. So what do you think of what's out there so far?
I think the Dodgers are the clear best team in baseball, but I've felt that for, going on the better part of a half a decade now, and they have one World Series ring to show for it.
During the pandemic year.
Yeah. The thing about baseball is you can be the best team, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee the postseason success. And while the Dodgers have a lot of good pitchers, they still lack that guy, right? They don't really have that ace that you feel comfortable sending out to the mound in a must-win contest. Walker Buehler, he's good. I don't think he fits that description. Clayton Kershaw is not the guy that he was. If anybody is that guy for the Dodgers, it might be Urias at this point. So yeah, I think that if we simulated this season a bunch of times, the Dodgers will win it more than anybody else. But I don't know if I'm willing to back them at plus 500. I would probably be looking to go a little bit further down the board. Tampa Bay, they're the anti-Yankees, right? What do they have to do? Why are they always priced so disrespected in the futures market? All they do is make the playoffs every single year. And unlike what we've seen from them in the past, they're at least exploring the ideas of increasing their payroll at the moment, right? They were in on Freddie Freeman reportedly. They just made a trade with the Dodgers, brought in another outfielder. They have 37 guys that all throw 100 plus miles an hour. I think that this is a very disrespectful number to a team that has really become the model of baseball greatness, right? If you're a small market team, you have to wake up and be like, man, I wish we could be the Rays one day.
Yeah. I just wish I wish Major League Baseball had a salary cap and a salary floor. Sure. I wish the general constructs of Major League Baseball were just much different in terms of, level of competition, but it's true. I mean, the Rays I don't want to say that they find a way, because that would be disrespecting them. They just have such a good farm system, develop their players so well that they are, to your point, in the mix every single year, even while spending a quarter of what teams like the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, teams like that spend.
The Mets. Don't forget the Big Daddy Mets.
The
Uncle
big
Steve
boys.
making it rain, baby. Sorry.
Do you have any? I know our guy Bukes, who's not with us. We're going to get out of here in a minute, but and he should be coming back soon, by the way, now that baseball's returned. But do you have any early favorites as far as player awards or anything like that? Postseason, or not postseason, but regular season awards, like the National League MVP right now. Juan Soto is plus 280 to be the favorite in the NL. Shohei Ohtani plus 350 to defend in the American League with his teammate in the Angels, Mike Trout, right behind him at plus 400. And are these the type of bets that you like to make preseason?
Not in the preseason. I think the better time to do it is during the season when we have a little bit of information, because what will happen is someone will get off to a hot start. Mm-hmm. They will emerge as the favorite. And their odds will become too short based on the fact that it is a 162 game season. Injuries happen, right? Fernando Tatis was the runaway NL MVP favorite last year until he got hurt. So I think that is the best time to sort of leverage some of these odds. That being said, the guy whose name intrigues me the most, and it should be no surprise given that I just gushed about this guy or this team, Wander Franco, 18-1 to win the American League MVP. I think, again, the Rays will be in contention for being the best team in the AL, and he will be their best player. That's enough to make me intrigued. The kid is 100% legit. He proved that last year as a 20-year-old, 21. He's going to play every day, and he's already one of the best players in the league. So I'm fine with grabbing him at 18-1.
Good news is there's a lot of baseball talk coming your way on the Sweat, the Slate over the course of the entire season and leading up to the season. We've got a ways to go before that happens. Opening day, April 7th. Stretch run here for the NBA, for NHL, and of course, March Madness is just getting started too. A lot more excitement. Should be fun. We will keep a close eye on it here on this program throughout the week, and plenty of talk about it, like I said, in the mornings on the Sweat as well. We want to thank producer Eamon guiding us through as he does all week, every week. Of course, T Pike, undercover boss Tom, our technical director. We hope all of you have a great night. Enjoy the games, the madness. Place your bets on the NBA. He's Matt LaMarca. I am Adam Kaufman. Madden Sims coming your way on the DraftKings YouTube and Twitch channels. You got a few of them on the way tonight, including starting in just a few minutes with the next at 6 p.m. Eastern. LaMarca, be good, buddy. Get out in the sun, huh?
What's that dig?
I'm just telling you, have fun. Get in the sun.
Thank you.